US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has urged India to work against threats to democracy. He's in New Delhi to seek common ground on Afghanistan and China. Both sides expressed concerns over the Taliban's gains in Afghanistan following the withdrawal of US troops. China's growing influence was also in focus. Beijing has slammed Mr Blinken's visit as trying to provoke confrontation.
What the Quad is not is a military alliance. It is not that. Its purpose is, again, just to advance cooperation on regional challenges.
People need to get over the idea that somehow other countries doing things is directed against them.
Ishan Garg joins us live from New Delhi for more. Ishan, both sides looking to find common ground against China's influence.
Absolutely. China must have featured in the talks between the two officials today. And what's interesting is that, as you might have noticed in the clip, that China was never mentioned by name. There was a question asked particularly about China and China's criticism of the Quad, and that was addressed without naming China. So whenever the two officials said that they had discussions about regional cooperation and regional security, experts here say that the indication there is towards China. China, of course, features heavily when India discusses or promotes its foreign policy because of the recent border tensions. And as was seen yesterday with Lloyd Austin's visit in Singapore, in his speech, he was very open about America's views on China. So that's certainly a common ground for India and the United States. But more importantly, going forward, experts here say that the visit will act as a stamp of approval for India, which has been seen as a counterbalancing power or a potentially counterbalancing power to China. And going forward, it might be that not only trade relations are improved between India and the United States, there might be less reliance both from the Indian side and from the American side on China for trade. There might also be enhanced military cooperation. And of course, going forward, this meeting today could also set the stage for the in-person meeting schedule of the Quad nations of India, United States, Australia, and Japan. And that group of nations, experts are saying, that is also one step towards countering China's influence in the region. So while the country has not been named specifically in the dialogues in the press briefing today, it certainly must have featured heavily in the dialogues between the two authorities.
Yeah, it does seem like there's a lot of areas for collaboration between the US and India, but we understand as well there could be some complications over concerns over India's human rights record.
Absolutely. I mean, officials in the United States had been raising the issue of allegations of India suppressing human rights, of India actually clamping down on critics, on journalists, and also on protesters. And it was expected that these issues would be brought up in the conversation. And Secretary Antony Blinken actually did say that these challenges to democracy do come up in the conversation whenever two friendly countries like United States and India talk. And that seems like a very diplomatic and friendly way to say that these concerns were indeed addressed in the meeting between the two officials. Now, having said that, Mr. Jaishankar did point out that the criticism that has been leveled against India might not be entirely fair, because he says that whatever historical wrongs have occurred in a country is the present government's moral responsibility to correct them. And the indication, it seems, was towards India bringing in a controversial citizenship law earlier this year, which led to massive protests, and the government subsequently was alleged it was alleged that the government had clamped down on those protests. So now India is certainly looking as if it was defensive on this issue, and Secretary Blinken saying that the challenges faced by the two democracies will present with an opportunity for two countries to learn from each other.
All right, Mayor, thanks for that. Ishan Garg speaking to us from New Delhi.